created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
No? That is we are going to be talking about today in our episode of Spectacular Singing, something coming from Maestro Verdi, which of course many of you never expected to be part of this cycle. But remember that more than one time I have referred to this, how can I say, to this phase in the development of him as a composer. He started composing when the bel canto was leaving the operatic scene. Maestro Verdi, as a consequence, learned or heard many of the productions of earlier bel canto composers such as Bellini and Donizetti. There was some part of him inside that made him compose with ornamentation, even though we know Verdi developed his own writing style, which, by the way, is completely difficult. Any singer can tell you that singing Verdi is difficult and it's heavy. It has a super heavy orchestration more of the times. And that's what makes complicated in general the operas by Maestro Verdi. But this jewel that we are going to be referring to today comes from a very little known role, Elena, in the opera I Vespri Siciliani. Elena is, with her two arias, is, from my perspective, way more difficult to sing than Violetta Valeri in La Traviata. The Sempre Libera is a piece of cake comparado to the Mercè, dilette, amiche, Mercè, dilette, that we are going to be referring today, has way more challenges. An average soprano more or less can get away with the Sempre Libera, but a mediocre soprano is not going to be able to get away with Mercè, dilette, amiche. And this is also known, because I already have it on the screen. Um, this is not only known as the Mercè di Lette Amiche, some other people also call it La Siciliana from I Vespri, and some other also give this area other names. But no matter what the name is, it's still keeping ourselves in the mood of a Verdi who learned from the bel canto. He told himself, why not? Let's
Let's
do
go ahead.
let's do something brilliant. I mean, brilliant in the sense of the agilities that are going to be needed, something attractive, something cheerful, and something that makes 99% of the sopranos fail miserably. We are going to explain why. Of course. Also, we are going to mention that we are going to see it in a second. Um, Even when Maestro Verdi writes in this style, more in the bel canto ornamentation style, he's still a heavy composer with, if you, by just looking at this initial part, you already see that the orchestration is anything but light. It's cheerful, but it is not a light orchestration. Opposite to when you read Bellini, sometimes Donizetti, not always, but when you read other the music of other bel canto composers, as I was telling you, light music. Or if it is speed, the accompaniment of the music is light. Well, Maestro Verdi opens in forte with the orchestration, which is very cheerful, by the way. Uh, and maybe just before we get into detail on the Mercè, what are your initial thoughts, Katia, when you also found that this was written by Verdi?
I think that probably when Maestro Verdi heard this for the very first time in the premiere, he surely had a kind of thoughts like, "Oh my God!" But in my head, it really sounded good. sounding like this now.
But now let's explain why most of the sopranos fail here. And it has to do with the role. I Vespri is a super long opera, super, super long, and it is written mainly for a lyrical soprano. Remember that a lyrical soprano, the same way as a dramatic or spinto soprano, will not have nice ornamentations. It's like having a voice like maybe not as lyrical as Mimi, but think of Mimi in La Boheme and think of Mimi instead of singing Donde Lieta Usci or instead of singing Si mi chiama no Mimi, just picture her trying to do ornamentation. It's not going to work. And that's what happened here. Maestro Verdi put to a lyrical soprano the challenge of something that is most of the times way beyond the capabilities of a lyrical soprano in extension, in brightness, in agilities, in the perfection of the notes, in the control of the breath, in the emission of the thrills. As you see, the list is super long, and so lyrical sopranos pretty much do what they can. So probably the director says, "Okay, I'm going to start conducting. You do what you can."
We'll meet at the end.
Yeah. So, first note that I would like to share with you that I just highlighted on the screen, it opens con grazia. Uh, and I don't know, Katia, if it was your case as a student or your case now as a singing teacher, that a student says, okay, con grazia means exactly what? As we said, grandioso. Okay, so how do I sing grandioso? What is that supposed? Well, I know the word, but how do I put it into my voice? Okay, wait, grace. Okay, I will do it with grace, which means maybe cheerful, maybe not the complete voice. Maybe I am smiling, or maybe how do I portray congratia? Because it says congracia, but starts in the lower area of the voice.
And a triplet.
And
Why?
then a triplet, of course, because it wasn't difficult enough. So he said,
Yes. Let's
because
complicate it.
you say, okay, I'm going to sound like agile, happy, congratia. You usually think of the middle upper. Maybe not the highest, but somewhere in the middle upper should be easy to do. But if you're singing in the lower area of your voice, remember that the voice, let's say, is set here, and you have the upper register and you have the lower register, and the idea is that your voice moves comfortable in the two extremes. But we also know that the position has to be high so that you reach comfortably, and that means that the lower notes are not as rich as and resonant as the highest. That's usually the problem. If that is usually the case, how do you want me to place the voice here, start here, and at the same time sound congratia? I am barely touching the G or the F or whatever the note is required at my beginning, and I'm still thinking, how I'm going to, I am trying to find the right position of my voice in that area, and at the same time, I have to make a triplet and sound great
And grazioso.
and gracious. I think the advice that Katia will give is don't throw the whole voice here, because if you put the whole voice here, it's basically not going to sound congratia. It's going to sound probably cavernous or out of the pitch or something like that, but it's not going to be congracia gracia. So probably the advice from Katia is going to be that. What do you think?
Well, I think that for me, because of my kind of voice, I work my deep voice and my best sounds, um, holding them from the higher part of my voice. And I practiced exercises like see. In my case, it's a very clear and easy vowel to place. So it gives me a good idea to abort the chest voice without losing my upper sound. See, see. And it starts to resonate in the part of the chest, but without losing the brightness. So I can abort something like this first Mercè. Si, Mercedes, and it's sounding um, with pride, so that will help me to face what comes ahead. That changes more than an octave.
It's just more than an octave change. Yeah, that's fair.
It's like handle your voice as a Ferrari that comes from 0 to 200 in 1 second.
And still congrats, yeah. Remember, still
But with
congrats.
gracia.
And it is true. It is really. mm, I don't know. Maybe I would say that when you're starting to rehearse and to practice with your voice, these are the things that make you want to abandon your career. Because you
Yeah.
say, how am I going to do? You're trying to send, but when it is as it is not in full control, the Ferrari tries to carry you faster,
You will prove yourself.
and you get in trouble very easy because remember that we have mentioned that it is like a merry-go-round. So the merry-go-round starts low, then very quickly starts to ascend to the upper part, not still not the highest, but you're already in the high register, and then starts to slow down or going a little in the middle, low middle center, and keeps itself in the middle center, and then goes back to the lowest area of your voice in just a couple of measures after. He didn't really leave you enough room to maybe develop for 10 or more measures so that you could enjoy your voice. No, it starts to and then again, and it plays with the same idea again, which means that you have mm, to possess that control of the how much lightness you want to invest in your voice. Because as we were saying, if you get too carried away, oh, I am ascending, I can send full. If by the time you send full, in the time you are starting to go back to the center and then go back to the low, you have already lost the train. So probably that is not a good idea, because that is very common with singers that when they are in the difficult area of their voice, they tend to sing uh, softer with less
Mhm.
volume because you know you are in danger. The moment you reach the area where you feel comfortable, you do the opposite. You throw more volume. But once you are here with the volume, trying to catch back the volume and control it as you were before, it's usually going to cause a mess. And also notice if you are reading the score with us on the screen, please notice that there is no indication of crescendo or diminuendo in here. So the maestro didn't require it. He knows that once you reach your high notes, they are going to sound louder. He knows, but he didn't require it. Same way he knows that once you go back to the center and the lower register knows that you are going to lose some volume. And so should you. But you cannot say that when you are in the low area, it's like a whisper because nobody's going to hear you. So
Mhm.
we are barely 8 measures in the score and you are already lost on what way are going to choose, right?
Probably you are thinking now about singing O mio babino caro.
Probably you should go back to the babino caro where the crescendos and the diminuendos are indicated and you keep most of the time your voice in the same area. Yeah, that's probably where you should be aiming at. Because I want to mention, and this is the time where people throw at my throat and want to kill and cut me into pieces, because I wanted to mention a recording, live presentation by Anna Netrebka, singing this Mercè, dilette, amiche, but she started all the aria with full voice. And of course, there are the comments of people who say, "Oh, wonderful, the most splendid version we have ever heard." It's blah, blah, blah. It's not that, it's horrible. Because just think of it, make a thrill in that area of your voice with full voice.
No.
Doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. And also, when you think of yourself, when you think how you're going to do it con gracia, you instinctively say, I have to play with some consonants or the beginning or the end of some words. Or for instance, mercè dilette it's like if it was one single word. It's continuous, mercè dilette amiche. Maybe you want to play with the D or in the te, dilette amiche, depends really much on on your taste, because you want to make it cheerful, right? You want to make it with gracia. But when you're singing Mercè, dilette, amiche as if you were Tosca singing Bici d'arte, simply it's not going to work. Because think of all that continuous volume trying to sound with gracia. Simply doesn't work. You
Yeah.
never can sing in full volume. First thing, you should never sing in full volume all the time. It's tiring and it is boring and it is predictable. So, to start with. But if you're worried that you're going to lose control and you say it's much easier when I sing it, it's at the end of the first phrase, people are going to be bored about what you just did. It's way too much sound for opening. It's too much. And people have to notice the change. People have to notice that you come from low and how naturally your voice gained in volume and naturally is losing in quotes some of the volume going back to the lower area of the voice. But now that you're pushing too hard all the time, it's horrible. It simply sounds horrible. It really does. And that's why I detested that recording that I saw from Anna Netrebko, because I said, this is someone who didn't understand the style in which it is written. It is sort of a celebration. It is sort of an invitation from Elena to her friends to have a celebration. And it has to be, as we said, playful, cheerful, full of joy. So, di quale giadri flior il caro dono immagine del vostro bel candor. Here, well, here and then in the following phrase, because it is constructed the same way, same notes, only changing the words. This is a very Verdian. Verdi, it was part of his signature. Maestro Verdi liked to do this sort of words cut by silences,
Mm-hmm.
sort of pauses. If you go to Violetta Valery, he has the same construction there.
Il caro nome.
Il
It's
caro
the same.
nome has the same style because that's something Maestro Verdi liked to do. What? To emphasize, to reflect, to do something. He always, remember that Maestro Verdi
And
was,
because he didn't sing it,
and because he didn't sing it, yeah. That's probably part of the
by
explanation.
the way.
But remember that Maestro Verdi was also known for being one composer who understood human emotions. So some of the most known creations of him are because of how well he understood the innocence of a woman who falls in love, the hate of a man who knows he has been betrayed or who has committed some sort of crime, or the man who discovers that Violetta has paid for everything, or
Yes.
when Mr. Germont feels guilty because he says, "Oh my God,
She
I
was
was
not that bad.
she was not that bad. The bad guy turns out to be me." So all those number of emotions are present in Maestro Verdi, and here gives us the joy of a woman who is getting married. Of course, you could say, ah, yeah, but a woman who is said to be married is going to be super cheerful and it's going to be shining out like maybe Ophelia just before she dies, but it is not the case. This is a more controlled woman. Remember
She's
that,
not crazy like Lucia.
yeah, she's not crazy like Lucia. That's
She's just happy.
she's just capitalist. Yeah, she's not planning to kill her husband. No, no, not anything like that. She's just happy because she's going to be marrying Arrigo soon. And in fact, well, that's pretty much the end of the opera, which is, of course, a tremendous drama, as Maestro Verdi liked. So, il caro dono immagine del vostro bel candor, the same construction as I was saying, quei leggiadri fior del vostro bel candor. Of course, I am, as always, I am exaggerating so that you can see how ta ra ta 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 ta. That's the effect he wanted to do. Of course, in a female, beautiful, light, bright, well accentuated female voice. Of course, with all of that, right? Something that he also liked to do, and that for the first time there is a crescendo, but notice this thing that he did. And as Katia just mentioned, yes, Verdi wasn't a singer himself, so he said, well, we can start, why not, in a crescendo in the lower area of the voice, and at the same time, making the sound be legato to the following phrase. All of that in just one measure.
What was thinking
What
about?
was he saying? By the way, if it is difficult to address your low register, it is more difficult to start making a crescendo in that area. You start around the center and it's going to be easy, right? Oh, you're going to ascend and you are going to keep a note and maybe you're going to make a filatura. That's going to work, but not in the lower register, in your
No.
lower register. So he asks for that. So guess what? Most of the singers omit that crescendo because of that. Because they say, "Oh, del vostro bel candor." Oh. And then the moment you try, you say, but if they are not, the singer is not going to do that crescendo, at least can play nicely with the linking candor of fortunato il vinco. Following the same phrase continuously is usually very nice. Opposite, what I have heard some sopranos do is Dil vostro bel candor, oh for, like yelling in the oh fortunato il vinco, and it's like I am singing and suddenly I see a mouse and say oh fortun, and it's com- completely out of place. It has to flow very, very, very nicely. Of course, if you want to do something that sounds actually nice, right? Now, um, del nostro bel candor o fortunato il don. Sorry. It's uh, let me see. I'm going to scroll from the right because my mouse is scrolling more than desired. Uh, Let me see. It jumped to. Oh, I know why. Give me a second. I'm going to do that. Yeah. Ho fortunato il vinco che mi prepara amore. Vinco col che mi prepara amore. Maestro Verdi has this obsession with starting around the F, descending. And adding these little babies here just attacking the opening note of the following group, which, as remember, I was telling you, basically the director says the soprano, do what you can. She
Good
says,
luck, girl.
good luck, girl. And she says, no, this one, not gonna make it. The second one, not gonna make it. Neither the third, the fourth, and the fifth. Because Maestro Verdi requested five, five continuous, these small notes that are, by the way, I think I have never asked you, Katia, if you have an advice for singers who, for some reason, because the composer does it for some reason, who for some reason in their scores have these short notes just before the main note that are required. They are usually required once. But here Maestro Verdi served himself and say, let's go for five. So,
Yes, I was thinking in Il Caro Nome again because it is proper from Verdi. He likes to add this kind of ornaments because I I have a kind of deja vu reading the score. Yes, I have heard many times also that these apoyaturas are made with un golpe de glotis. Please don't ever do that because the idea of an apoyatura is to sound like if you were jumping over the clouds. It, the idea of this kind of ornaments is to make the music sounds even more playful. So we have oh, fortunate so you have to attack them in the higher part of your throat, because if you attack in the lower part, I can't even imagine the way it's gonna sound. Oh, fortunate no, because you're gonna sound like a duck.
yeah. Now we have a duck, we have a squirrels, we have cows, and now we have a duck.
Yes. And we don't want ducks.
No, we don't want that.
Ugly duckling.
And it is it is not only a challenge vocally in the quality and the rightness of the sound, but also because look at how, let's say, the timing, the time construction is that it keeps flowing. It doesn't start col que mi prepara amor. Many times have I seen the sopranos fail not only in the notes but also in the tempo. It's it's like you had a glass of water and they had to que mi prepara more, like more, the sound opens suddenly more, because when you're trying to plan where you're going to land, because you have to plan where you are going to land. If you don't plan, usually it's a disaster, and that's what usually happens with the sopranos, because they say, okay, que mi prepara more, but even the sound sounds weird. It's out of pitch, it sounds too open, sounds way too horrible, or the then instead of it goes like inside, you go, because they are out of control on where they are going to land. And I am not saying that it is easy, because I understand that at this time maybe 500 sopranos are listening to me and say, hey, Ricardo, if it was so easy, I never said it was easy. We started saying
No, it's
that
not
it
hard.
is difficult. This one is difficult. So I never said it was easy. And that's why also Katia suggested, this is already where your capabilities go for not for el caro, no, sorry, no, for el babino caro. Babino caro does not demand any of this one. The landing of the notes in El Babino Caro is very easy. Maestro Puccini already did it for you. Oh mio bambino caro. If you fail at the caro, caro, or do something like that, it's because you're really doing a mess with your voice. But Maestro Puccini did it good for you, caro, to wait to land the sound. But Maestro Verdi here was a miserable guy and put everything opposite to you because you're ta da ta da ta 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 re, ta re. So you have to plan to more. How I'm going to do the more. Really
And it is
more.
also a short note. So if you are not having a good target, there's no way to correct it because in a large note, probably you're not attacking correctly, but there is a way to repair the damage, but not here.
And also, now that you mentioned it, usually in the wrapping of a phrase, usually singers extend the duration, something because it's sometimes because it's nice, but in this case, the singer will intentionally extend it because if it is already difficult to land, just imagine trying to land on 1 foot, on 1 foot. Amore, short, precise. So what do? I extend amore. That way I land with 2 feet, but the only problem is that Maestro Verdi asked you to land with 1 foot only. So it is really super precise singing that Maestro required if you are going to do it well. And not so low as in the first, but still not in the comfortable area. Se voi recate pro nube, and then we have the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why not? Again, 5 times. You're asked to again play with those phrases,
Yes,
singing
indeed.
light, and again going back to a lower area and land again in 1 foot. So
Are you suffering once? Well, you will suffer twice.
yeah, once was not enough. I'm going to make you suffer twice. That's what Maestro Verdi said, right? But remember, this is in a way, mm, and maybe many people will not like my expression. This is sort of a predictable constructed area because even if we are changing the words, the melody and what you are doing is predictable. Because now, in the phrase where col chi mi prepara amore, nube voti felici al core, but the sequence of the notes and the tempo is the same. So the change of the words is not really say meaningless, but to the ears of the people it's going to sound, if not exactly the same, very similar. And since it is very similar, people are expecting the quality of what you are singing very, very even. You cannot say amore and then amore. The way you landed with amore and then land the other phrase with a much longer note or with less brightness or faster or whatever mistake you commit, because people are going to realize that you are committing a mistake. Also, I was mentioning that to your misfortune, Maestro Verdi composes with a heavier orchestration. This is a reduction of piano, but still, if you read s- nicely written bel canto music, you see very few chords for the piano.
Mhm.
Maestro Verdi says, no, I'm going to write many notes to accompany the soprano. Because remember that we have said that in the bel canto, the composer, in a way, since they know that your voice is not super powerful, super loud, they help you with a light orchestration. So that works. But Maestro Verdi didn't care. He said, I am
Yes.
re- he said, I am requesting difficulty and I am putting a heavy orchestration by your side. Go for it, girl.
Yes, it is a very complicated and tricky score in many senses because if you are a lyrical soprano, it will be very unrealistic to expect that you sing these agilities in the time that is written in the score, honestly. And if you are a lighter soprano, you won't be heard if you are singing
this with the whole orchestra. So this is not good for anybody. My comment, personal, my personal think about this is that probably the best way to perform something like that is for a light soprano with a reduction for piano and just in a concerto version when where you sing only this area because you can't handle the entire characters. So there's no way to sing Elena.
Yeah. So uh, Elena is certainly the Elena who sings Arriva Parli un Core is not the same Elena who sings this Mercè, dilette, amiche. It's no way the same soprano. Absolutely not.
And do you agree that it's also written in the last act where the soprano already sang difficult and heavy stuff? Now she's exhausted and she has to sing with Grazia.
Yeah. Usually these numbers go at the beginning because of that, because the soprano is rest, the voice is fresh. Because let's be realistic, even if you're not singing after 2 hours and a half, 3 hours of the opera, you are already exhausted. Even if you're just standing there, you were standing there listening to the other guys singing, coming on stage, exiting stage, going for a rest in the passes in the entracts, and then you go for an aria, then you have a duet, you go to rest, then you go back to the. It's super tiring.
Yes.
The voice already is tired, and you say, "Okay, man, okay, Maestro Verdi." You say that after almost 3 hours, I am supposed to have a super light voice landing in one foot, doing it
Yeah.
continuously, and that in Grazia playing often in my most uncomfortable register going a little for opera and then going back to my uncomfortable register, man, you gotta be mad. This is because at least let's take Olympia. Olympia, once she reaches the stratospheric area, she's moving continuously there. And then, yeah, you say, yeah, but then she goes back. Yes, she goes back, but shortly.
Yeah.
Not her main ornamentation is not in the center and low area. Here, the ending of each phrase is at the medium low area, which means he hated sopranos. See?
Yes, it is a sort of revenge or something.
Yeah, because there is no other way you can explain yourself. The man, why are you doing this to her? Why are you treating her like this? Let her have fun. I mean, if you're going to have fun, you could have the last phrase Felice al core. Maybe you could have finished with a note an octave higher. A beautiful note an octave higher, and the soprano would be super happy over having something above the F. She would be super happy, but no below her central do, her central C. That's that's simply not fair. Probably, well, not probably. Certainly, that's one of the reasons you never hear this this song, this aria on stage.
Yeah.
Who
Thanks God.
wants in the if you signed for the complete opera and you said, "Man, I forgot there was the Mercè." But when you're in a concert, I'm pretty sure that you never say, "What I'm going to include?" Ah, the Mercè. Yes, of course, Mercè is going to be part of my program. It's not going to happen, unless, as Katy explained, it's going to be a short program. You really plan where you are going to put this one, and the other areas are going to flow in your program more nicely. Okay, let's move on. Mercè del Don. Ah, another tricky part. Así, así, because she repeats, look at this. She says, así, before the first así, then why not a beautiful vibration in your voice, así, and then continue this vibration, because of course it has to say alargando. Yes, of course, why not? this This is a very comfortable note for a soprano voice, but even though it is comfortable, I have also heard many sopranos fail. Many, let's be sincere, many sopranos don't really know how to make a nice trill, to be sincere.
Oh,
So continue with this game of how can I explain? Maybe Katia, you can explain it better. The effect here is not like in a short trill. The effect here has to be perceived by the audience like you're having like and this is of course higher, of course, but that's pretty much the idea, yeah. That's what the sound must be perceived on the audience.
yes, to the capability to sustain a that large trill, it's not easy because you start to lose the pitch if you don't have a very stable support with your diaphragm. So the pitch start to get lost, to diffuse, and you don't listen half tone. You start to to hear something different. And you, because it's complicated. It's not easy, but please, ladies, really practice this so you can do a good work. But yes, it's not that simple for all the voices. We're talking that is mm, essentially for a lyrical soprano, and yes, the trill doesn't sound like and I don't know what to say.
Well, I wanted to continue somehow on the same comment. It is very, yeah, it is certainly very easy to lose the pitch, um, because you also need to keep the breath. It is a long a demonstration of the quality of your fiato that you have to still be sounding right. But again, you need to plan where you are going to land. Because if you're not planning where, in this case, when you're going to land, because again, even though you have a calderone here that by the way says immediately dolcissimo, because congrazia is not enough, now we have to go dolcissimo. So
And leggero.
leggero, yeah, of course, leggero, still leggero. So you are leggero con grazia, and now you are dolcissimo after coming of a super long trill and continuously o caro sogno dolce brezza, even though there are not many notes here in the, let's say, as the dolce e, there are not many notes written. I mean, it is not Rossini with 200 notes in one measure. At least it's not like Rossini, but it has to be precise. Each of the consonants there, o caro, sogno, dolce, brezza, have to be clear because otherwise you're like dragging, o caro, sogno, dolce, brezza. It's not o caro, sogno, dolce, brezza. It's o caro, sogno, dolce, brezza. Of course, not as exaggerated as I just did, but because with this phrase, you're going to transport the audience to what is coming next. Because you come, picture it, you come from the with the trill. After you have been trilling, immediately, oh caro sogno dolce. Do you see how you have this is a sort of Maestro Verdi say, okay, we're playing with the trill, with a super long trill. And then immediately I'm going to change the mood of the audience to identify that now I'm coming to oh caro sogno dolce brezza. You see, it's like you are in the playful area. Let's go back to something lyrical because now oh caro sogno dolce brezza, oh dear uh, a dear or beautiful dream, dolce brezza. Remember that the brezza is a word in Italian that care. It's very clear to explain in Italian, but not in Spanish and not in English because it's drunk. And it is not drunk like you get alcohol or tequila, but it's this sensation of numbness or being so full of an emotion that you have no control of it. That's basically ebbrezza. That's what it refers to. So this beautiful, wonderful dream, this dolce ebbrezza, this wonderful sensation of feeling numbed, like drunk, D'ignoto amor mi valsa il cor. Again, look at how the syllables are flowing. O caro sogno dolce brezza, d'ignoto amor mi valsa il cor. Celeste naura già respiro. It's like Maestro Verdi puts you like this. O caro sogno dolce brezza, d'ignoto amor mi valsa il cor. But the consonants are there. It's not like when you're mounting Bellini and flowing from syllable to syllable, and you're still riding a wave. In Maestro Verdi, he's always more like, I don't want to say marcato because that is the wrong expression, but there is usually a higher emphasis in certain consonants or in the progress of the syllables of the words. But that's the way Maestro Verdi composes. That's why it cannot sound like Bellini or cannot sound like any other composer from the bel canto. So, o caro sogno dolce brezza, d'ignoto amor mi valsa il cor, celeste naura già respiro, che tu ti sensi nebrio. Let me let me put it here because I saying that I'm going to scroll from here because otherwise it simply jumps. We don't want that. Celeste Naura ya respiro que tu ti sensi again, but now it's only going to be three because he said I'm going to be generous with the soprano. It's going to be three, but now there's a series of very accidented passage. It's like when you're driving your car at 60 because you haven't seen a changed. Look at this. Maestro Verdi started in Allegro here, and he hasn't changed that. All the changes we have mentioned have been done with the number of notes written here, but he hasn't changed it yet. So it means that you're still driving your car, and while you're driving your car, he wants you to do all of this. And remember that you're a lyrical soprano. So if you're Olympia or the Queen of the Night, you say, give it to me, let's make it work. But remember that you're a lyrical soprano.
In the fifth act.
In the fifth act, after 3 hours of singing that it started, you're here. Io già respiro che tu ti sensi inebrio. This is another passage where many sopranos completely derail. It
There's
is
yo ya respiro, but they're not breathing.
che tu ti sensi inebrio. See, because opposite to what many composers do, we say he starts high and descends. Usually it's the other way around. You start somewhere between an E and an F and ascend to a G, and sometimes you ascend to an A or you ascend to a C, but not the other way around. Remember that the natural inertia of the voice is that you keep singing and increasing the volume, and that's going to be natural with the high notes. But it's like you're driving a Ferrari and he's asking you to slow in the same amount of time and still sound with grazia and with all these notes that he has.
Alejero.
Even for a car, it's difficult. So you have to do that with your voice. Um, and then, of course, you're going to ascend again. And this complete passage, it's usually, well, we have to accept it's a nightmare for a singer. It's
It can be.
difficult to get away with it, to be sincere. Any sort of advice that you would like to give if you had a lyrical soprano, besides telling her to go to the Babino Caro, but if she insisted, no, Katia, I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it. What advice would you give to a singer who insists on singing? What advice would you give her to go for this passage?
Well, I would tell her in the first place, please don't even mention that I'm your teacher.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, why not?
Now, taking this idea of the car that you are driving and suddenly stops and keep driving but stops, I think that probably we all have seen these cars that are like very tuned and are playing electronic music at the top of the volume, and they are driving and doing like boom, 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 boom because of the music and the use of the brakes. Well, we can use that to our favor, and we um, never stop the car in the red light. We have mentioned that several times. So that's what you have to do in this kind of rest, because there are very, very short rests. So they're not for stop, they are just for inflections. So if you're saying, io ya respiro che tu ti sensi in I'm not stopping my car. I'm gonna finish that after these bars. So use that energy, and you can end a life at this after this battle.
Now, we have seen also that so far Maestro Verdi hasn't really included super high notes. He's even stopping before the C. So, which means that at least in range, the extension of the voice should be or could be managed by most sopranos so far, supposedly. But if you're thinking of this little monster here, not only is he asking you to ascend, but also he's asking you for the peak, for the highest note to be short, which, of course, you are a lyrical voice, is usually impossible. The experts in doing super short notes are light voices.
Mm-hmm.
Lyrical to heavier, impossible to do. So, how again, how much Maestro Verdi detested sopranos that he said, I'm going to compose a beautiful piece of music that none of them is going to be able to sing.
That they will not sing.
So that's why I'm going to give them as a present, because of course,
It's the
w-
forbidden fruit.
why would a soprano with these characteristics be able to ascend and puck a clear short high note? You can say, yeah, Ricardo, but it is not a D, it is not a D. It is not, but it is short and you are ascending, and that is very difficult to achieve, because that's where you most likely will listen to a squirrel or to a rat yelling. You listen to different versions on the recordings, and that's when you will hear that the soprano sounds like if she's being strangled,
Yes.
because that's what they are actually doing. They are strangling the sound because they are unable to emit a short high note. And again, it's not saying that it is easy. It is not, and it is impossible for a lyrical voice. It's because of the nature of how physics work. If you have a semi-heavy voice, it's impossible that you sound pum, like that single short note clear. It's not going to happen from a voice that it is this wide. This sound from a voice that it's much narrower, of course it's going to work, but it's because the voice is much narrower. So, Maestro Verdi, okay, I gave you as a present this music that you are going to play with lots of mediocrity because your voice is not going to be
I will give you a beautiful aria and you will destroy it.
in trying your best, you're going to desire that you're singing something else. And by doing that, there comes a short intervention of the female choir. Remember that Elena is with her female, with her friends, inviting them, planning for the wedding that is going to take place. And then comes the second part, which follows the same structure and idea and way of an ornamentation, and everything is, as I was saying before, similar. So people know, probably they don't know the phrase of the beginning, but you see, you're going to have again a triplet, you're going to stand ascending, and then you're going to go again for this very Verdian way of writing, of putting pauses in between the words to communicate an emotion. Probably the only part that sounds a little darker is assai vendetti orribili ti laceraro il sen. Even though this is not a nice phrase to sing, it is not supposed or expected to give too much drama. It's like, yes, horrible things have happened here, but we'll keep going. Which is weird because Maestro Verdi usually says drama is here and he's going to dig into the drama and exploit it to the end. In this area, he just mentions assai vendette orribili ti laceraro il sen. So there are many horrible stories of revenges that have hurt your memory. But let's keep on moving. Speme colme memore di questi fior assi, and then goes back to the ornamentation and goes back to losing the pitch, to thrilling continuously, and then with this time the Calderone doesn't have any other notation except for the Calderone. And again, O caro sogno dolce brezza, the same phrase we had said before. D'ignoto amor invalsa il corcere, este naura già respiro, che tutti sensi in ebrio. And again, the soprano, instead of ascending the speed with the Ferrari, is going to be asked to pause without stopping, as Katia mentioned, and then again yelling like a rat just before in ebrio. So if you see it from there, this is basically a repetition in the part B of the aria, only changing the words. If you ask me, if I didn't get away with it in the first part, probably you will not get away with it in the second.
No, it will be even worse because you're tired of the first part.
And maybe, or most likely, psychology will play against you.
Oh my god, I have to do the same again. Yes.
Yeah, I just failed once. Now people will see me fail twice. Why not? But I am the one who chose this aria. Now I will go ahead and have to sing it before everybody else. I wanted my contract. My contract is there, so people will see me fail miserably. Um, we were saying that Maestro Verdi really didn't write a super high aria, really didn't, because this is super manageable for a coloratura soprano. It's like in the sense of the high of the notes. The other ones that we mentioned, of course, the coloratura is not going to be comfortable with descending because remember that they prefer ascending. So descending, hmm, doing those funny effects on the voice and continue. Also, remember that the sopranos with ornamentation usually don't sing many words. They sing many sounds, but they don't have too many words. And in here, Maestro Verdi put way too many words. Remember that, for instance, going back to Olympia, once she started doing her stuff, or Lucia, once she reaches the final part of just before the Spargi d'Amaro Pianto, she's basically playing with a sound.
Ah, she's very busy with a name.
She's not really saying anything, but here Maestro Verdi relies a lot in words.
And
So
nobody cares.
nobody cares about the words, but still you have to sing some words because that's the style of the composer. So This is the opportunity for the soprano to sound like a rat again, because we were saying that a short high note is basically impossible, and that one wasn't even a C. Now we have reached a note that probably lyrical sopranos can do when exercising, but that you exercise it in singing and probably eventually singing it in Tosca, for instance. But in Tosca, you are yelling, right?
Yeah.
Maledetto, maledetto, ah! And then, yeah, it sounds, but you keep the high C for continuously. You have reached now that height, but it's again going to be for a small amount of time. And you have to do it without sounding like a rat or like a squirrel
Like a strangulated
or like
squirrel.
strangulated lady on the stage. So we understand many many sopranos can detest the ending. Even though it is right, it is lovely, it is not easy. If you have the voice of the Queen of the Night, you say, manageable. Not
Yeah, no
love,
problem.
not loving where I am starting, that I am going to point it here. Really not loving that I am starting here, but things get better ahead, right? At
Yes,
least,
but I have a super high C, so it's okay.
so we can work with it, right? So I'm just ascending 2 octaves, works fine.
Yes.
It works, right? But oh, remember that I don't need to scroll here. Yeah. So after sounding like the strangled woman, again, we have mentioned in the past that you don't do this to a singer unless Katia, you tell me that you loved it, how you were playing with the note looking your low C at
I
the end
sing
of
it
the.
and I sing the B, but the question is, did you hear that?
I really think that this is another proof that Maestro Verdi hated sopranos
Yes,
because he really didn't need to do this. He could have done it little higher, at least a third higher, to make it less difficult for the singer and also to give a more quality of sound. But he decided to throw her into the depths where nobody's going to hear her.
yes,
And then after throwing her into the depths, is going to be playing again with these notes. Notice the effect. It's ascending from tones or semitones, which of course again requires a perfect pitch, and which is usually not the case for for this level of speed and for this type of voice. So it's like probably repeating myself, like trying Mimi to go and sing something similar, if not to the Queen of the Night, at least more similar to Olympia. It is
yes,
it is not the same singer. How can you expect a lyrical voice to go on these ornamentations whose basic difference between the adjacents, the precedent, and the subsequent, usually a tone or a semitone in difference? That is hard, super hard for a lyrical voice. Of course, somebody could say, no, 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 that is not true. In my exercising, in my singing lessons, I do this type of exercises. Yeah, but you're just playing and repeating the exercise with the piano, not like this that you're ascending, descending, making these pauses, then sounding like a rat, then again making more ornaments, and then you are descending. An exercise in your lessons is not as complicated as everything that is condensed here in around 4 minutes.
mhm,
If you tell me I can do this exercise, for example, the second measure of this page in circles ascending, I believe you. I know you can do it in your singing lesson. But singing it continuously live in front of a public, I bet you it's completely different. And most likely you're not going to get away with it.
Yes, I have sung very difficult lessons. Uh, Many of them sounded almost like 20th century music, where there are all kind of chromatisms and difficult and weird things. But yes, you are studying a lesson, and it's all about chromatisms, and I learned it, the pitches perfectly. That's what my teacher said. Uh, but it's like 2 pages just for that, and you are mentalized to study and to practice that kind of sounds. But but here you're singing to the flowers that you have to do that. It has to be a joke. It's rude.
Yeah, it certainly is. Que tutti sensi in ebrio. And I was saying that I read, because we are reaching now the end of the. Well, yeah. Look that just before the soprano can finish, of course, he has the option opure, but if you don't go for the alternative, you have to go for descending again to to your low C, which of course many sopranos will choose not to do.
Only wrong answers here.
Only wrong answers here, yeah. You want in every well, trying to find your sound, it's going to end in a disaster. So I go for this comfortable guy over here. Yeah, much more comfortable guy over here. Che tutti sensi in ebrio. Of course, as you can see, the final part, except for the super long vibration, the super long trill, it's not spectacular. And of course, soprano said, okay, I did 3 minutes and 50 of miserable singing. At least I am going to sing a high note. So they choose to sing a high note, but by this time they already sound like a squirrel. The problem with all this music, and now that we have reached the end of the area, the problem with this music is that when you change continuously in these areas of your voice, you always end up tired. And also it is long. It is around 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes 10. It's a very, very long. Remember that the Queen of the Night sings for around 2 minutes. It's half
Yeah.
the duration, and it is going basically pure sound. Tan, ta, 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 ta. Then you're speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking, even if nobody cares about the words, but you're speaking, and and the way you place your mouth and the resonators and the tongue and everything to produce vowels and consonants is like your instrument is doing all this opening, closing, now perpendicular, now this fricative, no, now this occlusive. All of that is happening while you are singing. And in the Queen of the Night, it's just a sound ta 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 ta. You see, it is just that note. You worry about the, of course, clarity, pitch, etc. But here you're caring about too many other complications. You are tired. So I think that in an act of mercy, Maestro Verdi said, I'm not going to ask you for a high note. Yeah, I already exploited you. Just go for a note that any soprano should be able to sing. But no, the ambitious sopranos say, no, man, I'm going to sing my high note because I can.
Or that's what they think.
Or they think they can. But really, when you're tired and you really want to have your high note, you really should think about it. Because if your voice is already dry, it's tired, it's opaque, and you want to go higher than a high C, 99% of the times it's not going to work.
No,
It's not, but
no.
sopranos say, why don't I go for an E? And they try to go for an E which is either short, too short, because of course you're already tired. So the moment you're preparing the note, you're just showing the first sounds, and you already notice that you're going to crack. So you cut it. If you're smart enough, you cut it before it cracks, right? Or your voice is too tired that the sound is opaque. Instead of having a beautiful E, it's an opaque sound. And what people will think is, no, this woman is past her time. Maybe she should retire soon because she's unable to keep. So, with all that in mind, what do you suggest, Katia? How should you? I know you will wrap it up with an E because you opened today's program singing that.
Yes, but I'm the lightest soprano. Well, I think that if you are being brave enough to select this area to perform, uh, be honest to yourself, and if you are giving it all in the entire area because it's complicated as hell, you have already shown yourself off enough to finish with the written but good enough pitch. Don't go for the E if it's not necessary, and trust me, it's not.
It's not.
No, there's no need to expose yourself even more. You have already done in the entire score, so take this for yourself and be wise, and please, really, really, I prefer to not try the E because probably they're not that light sopranos, and after all this effort, finishing with a bad high note, that's probably the last idea that the public will retain. So I'm not sure it's gonna work.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I also think that if you're not comfortable, which is likely, if you sang the complete opera, it's impossible you are completely rested for this part. It's impossible.
Yeah.
The complete opera is super tiring. If you're singing this a part of your program and you know that you already messed with a couple of things before, you probably don't want to try it. Yeah, just as Katia suggested, wrap it nicely. Go for the note that is written. That is going to be way more comfortable if you're a lyrical soprano. And also, even if you're a coloratura soprano, you will already be tired because Maestro Verdi brought you too often to an area where you are not comfortable. And also, going back to the lyrical soprano, if you're a lyrical soprano, it is very likely that you don't have the E. Probably you will
Yeah.
have the D, but the E, it's most likely that you don't have it. So if you don't have it, even in your vocalization, don't try it in front of everybody else. It's not going to work.
No, no, no. You won't be able to show your face public American.
Okay, so we're wrapping up today's program. Any final thought or any final part that you would like to sing, Katia?
Yes, I think that this was a personal revenge uh, from Verdi. This is not easy for anybody. This is not good for anybody. But we have to thank to Maestra Sutherland because she did a great Mercè, and probably the only one.
But we know that Sutherland has an extraordinary control of her instrument. So, it,
Yes, no, she's
and she was, maybe we haven't mentioned it, but even though Sutherland had it's difficult to sort of classify her voice because she was really not a light coloratura. She was sort of a coloratura with pasta.
hmm
And sometimes she committed the mistake of singing Turandot, which she should have never done, and sing some other lyrical roles because it was like when they say, "Oh, I have pasta, I will be spint or dramatic." But her voice was very adequate for Lucia.
yes,
And so this Vespri Siciliani was very natural to Sutherland as well because it required the pasta and she had the technique and she could touch those high notes without sounding like a squirrel or a strangled woman. So it was like for a voice like hers. But how many voices have been that are like hers?
No.
I cannot think of any other which could be close to, technically speaking,
Yeah.
and with the pasta that she had, the combination of the two.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Katia. Thank you very much for having joined us in this program, and we will be seeing in a month. Thanks. Bye bye.
You can follow our channel for the latest updates and more content. Opera We Love Singing, in just one word. Link in the description of the episode.